I'm Nick Preciado, the BenitoLink content manager, and we're here with the State Assembly District 30 candidates, incumbent Robert Rivas and challenger Greg Swett. So we're going to go ahead and do intros. It'll be a 45-second intro. Mr. Rivas, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Nick. Really appreciate the opportunity to be part of this forum. You know, it's so important that we have these opportunities to discuss the issues facing San Diego County, facing our region, when we can't gather in person. It's been an honor to represent the 30th Assembly District, where I've lived my entire life. You know, we've made real progress this past session on issues important to our district. You know, we secured $85 million for new teachers. I won broad support for legislation that increases our affordable housing stock, some protections for our air and water against pollution. We passed legislation to protect our agricultural workers who are uniquely vulnerable, as we know, amid this once-in-a-century pandemic. Having recently been named chair of the Assembly Agricultural Committee, I look forward to being a strong voice for farmers, farm workers, consumers, both here in our district and across the state of California. Thank you, Nick.
I'm Greg Swett. I'm running for Assembly District 30. Appreciate BenitoLink putting this on. It's a good way to get out in this pandemic challenged era. I'm running primarily because as a state, I think we can do a lot better than we do. We're the highest tax state in the nation, and our outcomes that we are getting are not great. What drove me on this is that there's a part of Highway 25 south of the Pinnacles. We're going to spend $12 million to do 784 feet. That kind of spending is unacceptable, and essentially, at the end of the day, we can do a lot better on how we're spending our funds. Thank you.
What is your opinion of bringing in revenue to San Benito County by utilizing the designated 16 commercial nodes and the proposed Strata Verde project?
I believe that commercial development, whether on the 16 nodes, I'm fortunate in that I'm next to one of those nodes. The only way that San Benito County can really increase its revenue is through some commercial development, especially in the entertainment. We have a great wine area. We are 60, 70 miles away from a huge concentration of wealth, and utilizing those resources are extremely important to our community, as they are into the district. As the Strata Verde project, it's a development that is on the edge of our community, but most likely it can provide significant economic benefits to the community. So bottom line, economic development is the only way that our community is going to actually grow, so we can provide the resources for everyone involved in living here.
Sure. Well, I appreciate the question, Nick. And, you know, quite frankly, the role of state government, the role of the legislature, obviously is, you know, the way I view it is to ensure that we're promoting our state economy and that we're working to preserve the welfare of all residents in our state. You know, and as we know, in a state as large and as diverse as California, this is no easy task. And certainly when it comes to revenues, you know, that trickle down from state government to our most our disadvantaged communities, our rural areas, we know that this has been a long-term discrepancy. That's why I have been so proud to represent my home in, quite frankly, understanding these long-standing issues of you know, the challenges behind economic development that our community has historically faced. But certainly I view the role of the state legislature in ways that we can bring revenue is to certainly make sure that we're investing in our infrastructure, make sure that we are expanding opportunities for that will allow San Benito County to become this hub for potential job creation, like in, you know, expanding access to broadband, and to strategically ensure that we are meeting housing goals and that we are making this a livable place for everybody. That's the only way we're going to attract new revenues and new industries and new business here.
Okay, thank you. Let's move on to question 2. Mr. Rivas, you'll answer this one first. So according to 2014 figures from the Public Policy Institute of California, 1 in 10 workers in the state is undocumented. What ideas do you have for a workable, financially sustainable immigration policy?
Well, certainly we've got to ensure that we continue to work with our partners at the federal level, with our representatives from Congress, because as we know, San Benito County and Monterey County, we are two counties that overwhelmingly have our fair share of undocumented residents because of the fact that we are an ag-based economy. It is the primary industry in our region, and nearly half of all agricultural workers in the state are undocumented. Now, what we need is, this has been the greatest failure of the federal government to do something around immigration reform. It has been the failure since the Clinton era. All of these different administrations. We really need support and help at the federal level to create a pathway for these hardworking undocumented residents in our region to become citizens. When you look at I was born here. My family immigrated here. They contributed in taxes, and certainly we need to do our part to ensure that they become part of our community, because they work so hard and now they've been deemed as essential workers, and we need to treat them as essential and give them opportunity.
First of all, the question really is more for Jimmy Panetta rather than Assembly people. Our job really, for those people that are here, they are essential workers that we use. That is, we need to make sure that we have adequate housing for them, probably adequate health care, and during this pandemic, make sure that we are actually starting a tracing program and testing. Maintaining their health is important. We also should be developing additional housing for the H-2 workers that allow both sides of the border to be beneficial. And as an ex-Farm Bureau member and director of the Farm Bureau, I believe we did a job on making sure housing for those H-2 workers, which are very valuable to the farming community, are available. So basically, let's keep those workers in adequate housing. Benefits us all.
A recent study suggests that it will take over 2 years for California to recover from the COVID-19 pandemic in the area of employment. What would you do to help workers and small businesses recover?
The important part on getting our economy open, I'm not sure what kind of assumptions you're making on a 2-year growth, but essentially we need to get our businesses open. We need to make them safe. The technology is available today to start allowing that through contact tracing. That is essentially unobtrusive and very effective. The second part of that is the Abbott test coming out at $5 a whack at 50 million units a month gets our ability to move out there. We've heard nothing from government on any of these programs, and they are somewhat difficult to get people to move on. The key is make our economy safe. Adding additional taxes like Prop 15 is probably not a great idea. So essentially, get government out of the way and let businesses meet the needs of what people want.
Well, certainly, I appreciate the question. As I mentioned in my intro, these are unprecedented times. There was no blueprint on how to, manage the state of California, amid this once-in-a-century pandemic. And certainly the work of the legislature was significantly compromised this year. This is my second year in the legislature. And we worked very hard to ensure that we were mitigating the challenges that COVID-19 presented. That's why we championed a first-in-the-nation farm worker relief package to support and ensure that our laws were conforming to the challenges because of COVID-19 that our essential workforce was facing. But as we transition, we need to do everything we can to boost recovery in the state of California. And what that means to me is investments in our communities, especially bridging this gap between the urban and rural parts of our state. As I mentioned, these issues in rural California are long-standing issues: lack of access to broadband, lack of access to adequate health care. Certainly, if we're going to get on the road to recovery, we've got to put people back to work through infrastructure improvements, and we need to do everything we can to improve how we deliver services to our rural residents.
State Assemblyman Robert Rivas, you have 30 seconds for a closing statement whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Nick and Greg. Always a great opportunity to see you. And I want to thank everyone, all the people at home watching. I know that we have faced a significant amount of challenges over these past few months, from COVID-19 pandemic to economic uncertainty to devastating wildfires. You know, and I want you to know that my office is a resource for you. You know, we have, if you have questions, you have concerns, you have ideas for legislation, please do not hesitate to reach us. You know, I know that we can emerge from this very challenging period stronger than we were before COVID-19. If you choose to send me back to the State Assembly, I will continue to do what I do, which is fighting for you, advocating for this region, and working to solve problems. Thank you.
I'm Greg Swett. I'm running for Assembly District 30. My basic premise is that as a state, we can do a lot better. As we come out of this pandemic, we have a lot of issues that we have to address. Just looking from San Benito County, as well as our whole Assembly District, transportation is significant requirements. And additionally, we have some issues related to firefighting. And I'm suggesting that we put in a fleet of 747s to reach out and actually help our district. Thank you.